Down the coast and across the mountains rang the cry of gold, and men of every nature came to take what they could hold. Meek and mighty followed for the yellow dust that gleams. You were born California in their dreams. You were born California in their dreams.
From high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, above California's Yosemite National Park, flows the Stanislaus River. She cascades through tall stands of ancient redwood trees and steep limestone canyons. 120 miles she runs through lush vegetation and wildlife habitat and past a major salmon fishery. The Stanislaus was named for a Miwok Indian chieftain, Stanislaus, who made his last stand against the Spanish cavalry on her banks. And she was the setting for much of the exciting and romantic gold rush history, which thrust California into international prominence. This river is the most popular whitewater recreation river west of the Mississippi. Her shorelines include settings for people of varied interests, and because of this and her proximity to Los Angeles and San Francisco, the Stanislaus draws recreationers and vacationers alike all year round. It's expected that this year she will attract 80,000 visitors. The clean, uncrowded beaches which dot the shore are excellent for camping, picnicking, or just basking in the sun. And there are many peaceful spots to relax and fish for the plentiful trout which swim in the river. There could be no greater setting for swimmers than one of her numerous calm, tree-shaded lagoons. This whole area is a naturalist paradise. Numerous wildflowers and grasses brightly color the valley in the spring. The river is low in the canyon and is well protected from the winter snows. Because of this and the steepness of the canyon walls, it's a perfect wildlife refuge. 500 deer live near the water in the summer, and this number increases to over 1,000 in winter. One of America's most exciting eras began near here with the discovery of gold at Sutter's Mill in 1848. The finds electrified the inhabitants of 3 continents and began the greatest rush of fortune seekers that the world has ever known. Within 2 years, heavily populated mining camps sprang up everywhere, and gold poured out by the bucketful. Mining machinery and other remnants of that raucous period still lie along the river for all to see. The old ball mill stands like a sentry watching over the river valley. Water was released intermittently from holding ponds uphill to wash loose dirt and rock down the hillside and through this machinery where it was crushed and then sifted to separate the gold. Placer miners varied the same process. Their sluices were man-made streams in which they stood to pan for the gold. Immigrant laborers were paid 10 cents a day to remove and stack all the large rocks which washed into the way, and this practice has left what seem to be stone-walled trails. But no matter what the method, every stream, creek, and gulch was raided in the quest for gold. In 1848, the total output was almost $250,000. In 1852 came the record withdrawal of $81 million. Miners are still prospecting along the river. With a mixture of old methods and modern technology, they work from barges. Using dredging pumps, they vacuum the river bottom of sediment which the melting snows have washed down from the mountain. This material is pumped up to their barge and washed through the sluice, where any gold is settled to the bottom. This gentleman, who still lives on the Stanislaus, panned his first suit of clothes from its banks nearly 60 years ago. Panning is, of course, the most mobile of methods. Gold Rush panning prospectors carried with them only the tools and supplies necessary to sustain life. They would walk 50 or 100 miles to follow up a mere rumor. Finding a likely spot, they would break the ground with a pick and shovel it into a pan. With water from the river, they would wash away the lighter material, leaving the heavier. More water was added, and the process repeated until nothing was left but flakes and nuggets of gold. But gold is not the only thing of geological interest on the river. Startlingly beautiful and statuesque formations line this natural classroom of geological history. And from many points along the river, unusual and fascinating stratified rock patterns may be studied. Formed by the ever-changing Earth's crust, the canyon has stood in relatively this state for over 9 million years. There are 70 known caves in the area of the river, which geologists estimate to be less than 1/5 of the probable total. Millions of years of water erosion has widened cracks in the limestone into these subterranean chambers. Continuing seepage has deposited magnificent structures: stalagmites, stalactites, and helictites. One cave is known to contain a species of blind insect found nowhere else in the world, and relics found in others indicate that they were used for ceremonial rites as well as shelter by Indian tribes. Just a few feet from the river near Robinson's Ferry are ancient petroglyphs. These rock carvings are recognized as a major part of the historical record of the now extinct Miwok Indian tribe. For thousands of years before the gold rush, the Miwoks met along the banks of the Stanislaus. Smooth, symmetrical holes have been left in the rock plates where they used large stones to pulverize nuts, berries, and acorns into palatable food. The Stanislaus still rings with familiar and colorful names from her fascinating recent history, such as Angel's Camp, Sutter's Mill, Joaquin Murrieta, and Black Bart. The Twain-Harte Trail, which was named for two of America's great authors, begins at the Gillis Brothers' cabin, where Mark Twain and Bret Harte spent time during and after the gold rush. Such stories as Roughing It and the celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County were written here. The Twain-Harte Trail leads past many historical landmarks before reaching the river at Parrott's Ferry Bridge, the site of the first gold rush ferry crossing of the Stanislaus River. Stretching 9 miles upstream from Parrott's Ferry is some of the most exciting whitewater in the West. Boating enthusiasts of all ages come by the thousands to run this river in any kind of craft available. Perhaps the best way to understand their enthusiasm is to take a boat ride ourselves. soon, the Stanislaus will be gone forever. The Corps of Engineers is planning a dam which will destroy this beautiful river valley. In 1974, a petition by the people of California put Proposition 17 on the ballot, which was to have stopped the Corps from this wasteful project. But a few businessmen and large corporations with only profit in mind backed a vicious campaign of deceit and confusion which brought the measure to a narrow defeat. Now, Governor Brown holds her fate in his hands. He has the power to withdraw state support from the dam, thereby saving the Stanislaus. Governor Brown endorsed Proposition 17. He knows the value of this river valley. He knows the dam is a destructive project. He also knows that the proposition's defeat was a victory for narrow big money interests. But he needs to know that the people still care, that it isn't a dead issue. We have one last chance to save this beautiful river. Please write today to Honorable Edmund G. Brown, Jr., State Capitol, Sacramento, California. Please write today.
La 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 la.